Hello, everyone. Before we get to our regular cold open and episode, quick favor to ask. Tonight was the finale of All Stars 5, which means this is the second to last podcast until the off season. We've got this one and next week's full season recap and awards, and then we will be in official challenge off season and podcast and video off season, which means my ask is right now, this very second, if you do not already, whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple or some other service that you should really just move over to Spotify or Apple at some point. But I'm not hating wherever you listen. I appreciate it. I love you. I thank you. Hit follow, hit subscribe, whatever the button or metric is called on the platform you are on. Please go hit that so that in this upcoming challenge off season, we do not fall out of the rotation. The episodes, the videos, the podcast, they will be more sporadic with no episodes to follow, but they will be coming, and I want to make sure they hit your feed. So please and thank you for going ahead and hitting that subscribe, hitting that follow. If you're like listening to this while driving or something, mental note, the moment you stop somewhere, wherever, safely in the future, go in, hit that button. If you're watching on YouTube, you should have already done it. I started asking this like 45 seconds ago now. So please and thank you for those who already do subscribe and you're like, hey, get to the actual episode. You're the best. I love you, and I will. So, All Stars 5 to cover, just going straight into, I guess, a cold open that's normally planned. Lots of stuff happened. We're going to be talking about Frank and Sam coming to their breaking point. We're going to talk about Melissa and Nicole proving I might have been right all along about their chances. Davon and Shane showing out, but falling just short. And Adam and Steve, of course, winning by the tiniest of margins, we think, and choosing to split the money in the end. It's the Challenge All-Stars Rivals finale recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow challenge lovers? Welcome to the Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I'm your host, dedicated Challenge Historian Jacob Hollaball. Thank you so very much for being here with me tonight to celebrate the new winners of All Stars 5 semicolon rivals. However, we've decided to say it. 12 weeks later, 3 months, almost 3 months later, we have arrived at the conclusion. Adam and Steve have taken home the title. Spoiler alert, if for some reason you decide to listen to this podcast before watching the episode, but that's who won, possibly by a tiny margin. We've got a lot to discuss with the second half of this final. The only reminder before we dive right on in is that we'll be back one more time next week, likely on Wednesday, maybe a touch earlier, but more than likely Wednesday afternoon-ish, sometime around. We will do our full season recap and awards for All Stars Rivals, and then we will be entering the off season, and I will do my best to, within a few weeks of next week's episode, start getting some of the player ranking videos that I've planned and have been working on out to you. But we will be fully honest here. One, we've missed plenty of deadlines before in the history of this podcast channel. That's on me. But two, I am very, very busy at this current moment with a couple different jobs going and a bunch of just life stuff going. So we will see when we get those, but they will be coming, which is why I opened this video and podcast with a plea for you to subscribe or follow so that I pop up in your feed immediately when I do drop those player ranking videos. And you're going to want to be a part of that conversation. So without further ado, let's dive into All Stars 5, episode 12, the second half of the finale. Same as last week's recap. We're just going to go through the episode top to bottom. There's no awards, although some things will be mentioned along the way. Anything like that. We're just going to rip through checkpoint by checkpoint. Everything we loved, everything worth talking about. Here we go. We open with checkpoint 6. We open with the last checkpoint of checkpoint 5, checkpoint 5, the final checkpoint of day 1 of the finale. And it is the eating checkpoint of the finale. And they bring back a daily challenge from earlier in the season, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it when they did it as a daily. I loved it here. I'm totally fine with this truly just being, here's the daily challenge you did that one time. We're going to do it again because it was a great daily then. It was a great checkpoint here. It's a great game for rivals, pairs, and pairs of any kind on this show to play. And yeah, all across the board, loved the checkpoint and the design. Steve, we find out, is a competitive eater, or was dabbled. It seems like this man has dabbled in everything worth dabbling in, or that could be interesting, or just kind of random and eclectic, and making for this fascinating life that this man has been living. So that was interesting to find out. I don't think that was mentioned last time around when they had to drink the shake, but that wasn't, it was disgusting. It just wasn't that much. This was like a pretty sizable portion of pho that they had to eat, plus sizable portions of peppers and worms and other things that they had to put in it. So that was interesting finding that out from him. The sabotaging and the choice of who to sabotage and who was going where was certainly suspect, questionable at best, you could say, with a couple of the early decisions, and then the kind of tit for tat that Nicole and Adam got in. And this was the first moment of a few throughout the episode where, I came in, I made my prediction last week. I was like, I still think Adam and Steve are going to find a way. I think they're going to win basically all the rest of the checkpoints. And I thought they were going to eventually run away with this thing, even after a competitive first half. In this, basically every checkpoint, I had a moment of like, I don't know. I think I might have been wrong. I don't know that they're going to get this. And this was the first one where I'm like, this isn't like, lock in, boys. Like, what are we doing here? This isn't the right decision to be making. Go for the second place team. Go for it. Just, yeah. So questionable decisions being made kind of all around, and great quotes being said all around. Mel and Nicole definitely would be up for quote of the week if we did actual awards for this episode. The "it's a penis, that's what I don't do, so that's on you." Loved that little moment between them. There wasn't a lot of moments for them to be super happy or thrilled about, so this one definitely worth celebrating for them. Then comes checkpoint 6, which was not an overnight checkpoint. They just went to bed. Now, they camped. Sure, it was sleeping outside, but with under the stars, no tents. But it wasn't raining or anything. It doesn't seem like it was like particularly cold wherever they were or anything like that. It was just like, you're pretty straight up like, you guys get to sleep for a decent amount of hours. You just got to do it outside with some sleeping bag and a pillow and whatnot. Another great quote here I didn't write down, but the spider, "you're sleeping close to Shane" thing was pretty hilarious, and I'm glad everyone got a good laugh out of that. But I was kind of, I don't know how to feel. I'm still very mixed emotions about, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but hey, I talk about this ridiculous show for like an hour a week into this microphone. So all of it's ridiculous in the end. And so on top of all that is the cherry on top of the ridiculousness that I'm not sure how I feel about them not having to do an overnight challenge. Part of me is like, you know what? It just kind of like the throw up montages. We don't really need it. Like, why this became a staple, and it's one of the staples that maybe we could pull out, pull that thread loose. But then also the other part of me was like, it is a staple. They are supposed to have to do something. And I thought, especially on a rival season with these volatile pairings, as much as I predicted last week, it would be to the big benefit of Adam and Steve as the ones who I thought could handle it the best of the 4 teams. I want to see rivals get driven crazy by lack of sleep and having to do some stupid, tedious thing for hours and hours into the night. So yeah, I think I land on, I kind of want there to be something. It doesn't have to be extreme, but I think I want there to be something for overnight. But there wasn't. There was just getting some sleep, and then on to checkpoint 6, where it was the paddling checkpoint, which is something I feel strongly about. Every single final should have a paddling checkpoint, whether it's a kayak or a canoe, or in this case, tandem teapots, one way or the other. I think it has been done enough times and has become one of those staples, and one that I want to stay firmly in, that you should, if you're going on one of these shows, you just like do a little swimming. Make sure you can swim. You're probably going to have to swim a little. You shouldn't have to swim nearly as much as you swam on Battle of the Ares, but you're going to have to do a little swimming. You should know how to do that. You should know how to paddle. You're going to be in the water. You're going to be in the water on a vessel of some kind and just floating. So know how to swim, know how to paddle. I like that. I do have a small background, once upon a time, a Steve-esque, once upon a time, paddling kayak instructor in me. So that is also just strong bias of like, I like it. And it's the one thing that if I was ever somehow in a challenge and somehow by some sheer amount of luck being brought as a layup to a final, would be like, I can do well in one time, just give me a paddle, TJ, and I can do really well and feel like I won that part. So definite bias, but I liked this, and I loved that it was One, we saw in the preview they were going to reuse the teapots from the opening of Battle of the Eras to reuse some materials, but I didn't realize in the next week on last week that those teapots were connected, which makes for a very awkward and strange thing to have to paddle with two of you in circular teapots connected, and how that is going to maneuver and swing back and forth and the whole thing. So the fact that they seemingly all did fine, like they all did the mile, did it in fairly straight. They were a little over the place, but like honestly less. I expected crashing, going backwards, just constant spinning a lot, because this would be pretty difficult to do. And they crushed it. And obviously Frank and Sam and Adam and Steve really, really crushed it. And this was another moment, two checkpoints in, where I was like, okay, Adam and Steve, you lost at the right last second here, which I was thrilled for Frank and Sam to have that moment, and just kind of anticipating what might be coming. And certainly then, retroactively 15 minutes later in the episode, I was like, I'm really, really happy now that Frank and Sam got that win and got to feel great and have that moment together within the final and feel that momentum. But it was also Frank and Sam eked it out over Adam and Steve. And yes, you just retook the lead in the final overall, but you left a point on the table. And I, again, had that question pop up of like, I don't know. My prediction was I felt pretty good about them just dominating. And so far, they have taken the lead, but not in the manner I was expecting. And so those questions were still rising up. And this was very much still a ball game. Then came checkpoint 7. And I really liked this one. I just thought top to bottom, I guess I don't know anywhere else I'm going to say this, top to bottom, incredibly well put together and produced and organized and run final. Great operation, at least from what we saw, and maybe we'll find out some ridiculous stuff. I don't think so, though. I don't think there was anything that was, covered up or hidden here. I think this was really well done, really well operated, a nice, smooth process, everything thought through, everything going, according to plan. And so shout out to production. It just makes some of the others in the past stand out every time we have one like this. We're like, yes, I know how incredibly hard this is to put all this together and put this on and do the job, and how many people are a part of it and all the moving parts and everything else. But it does have to be right. And so tip the cap to you when you get it right, because you really, really nailed it. And I liked everything about this final. I liked the design, all of it, all the way through. And I like this checkpoint a lot. I like that near the end, you give a checkpoint where one person can carry. I do think, when you're working in the pairs, you should have a pretty strong, not a balance, even a strong lean towards like, you guys got to do most of this together. But we'll give you one or two. We'll give you a little bit, maybe 25, 30% of the final, something in there, a little bit, where if there's one of you that can really show out and is trying to like drag and will your team to victory, like we'll let one of you show out. And so I like the design of this one of like, you can do this together, but ultimately you just both have to have a hand on this thing. So if one person wants to carry it and the other person just has to follow along at the same speed with their hand on, that's great. Go for it. You can do it. And a lot of good teamwork here from 3 of the teams, two and a half of the teams. I actually do think Mel and Nicole like worked better than they were being portrayed together on this particular checkpoint. But Frank and Sam obviously had a very, very tough time, and they took center stage. And this is obviously where we knew there was no great, unbelievable comeback happening. But Frank, loses it a little. I don't even want to say loses it. Frank gets extremely frustrated, and I don't even know if I want to use the word lashes out. I guess what I'm getting to here is I thought Frank behaved fine. And I'm not saying fine as in like I would behave the same way, or I would think he would want to behave exactly the same way in the future or say exactly the same things or anything like that. I just mean I wasn't really even on X during this at all. I didn't see any of commentary, even whatever there might be. We'll see what the commentary is over the next few days. But the distance between what went down way back when on Battle of the Seasons and this is vast. And this is just pretty run of the mill. I'm frustrated and pissed off, and I'm trying my best to motivate, but it is coming. It is yelling. I'm yelling at my partner in in trying to motivate, but there's at least there's an intent there, and there is clearly a love and a respect there, and there just isn't the ability to like fully turn the dial all the way to like, the most passive, how can we just like sit kumbaya, whatever, like he's still turning it to, I'm trying with every ounce of my being to be supportive, and this is the best I can muster up right now version of it. And I know it's not great, but it's what I've got, and it's again far from anything that happened way back when on 23. So I thought it was all, especially because they apologized, they have the kind of heart to heart after it, and um it was fascinating, and it was an interesting end to the story and the arc, and I found these two probably the most compelling of any team all season. A part of that is because Frank he's the main character this season. Spoiler alert, he's the MVP of the season. I mean, we'll go through why and how and make sure, we'll double check our math and see if that computes next week, but I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that front runner for sure for that award. And so a lot to do with him, but a lot to do with he and Sam together in that partnership, and what had happened the one time they played the game together before, and how fascinating that was for them to have won, but the way they won and everything that went down, and then to come here and have as they describe it, the end of the episode, that it starts off really bad, momentum picks up in a big way, they win a couple things that are very different from each other, some of it has physical elements, and they go into a final thinking these are teams we can beat, and it kind of comes crashing down, but there is the one high moment in the middle, and it's just fascinating story, fascinating arc, and they definitely provided some amazing Rivals content for a Rivals season. And then Davon and Shane on this checkpoint it then pivots quickly to, oh yeah, now that we're done with the Frank and Sam story, reminder, these two teams are battling it out for this win, and Shane and Davon pull out and eke out the win on this checkpoint to move them back into a tie into first place. And suddenly the game is very much up for grabs between the two of them. And not so suddenly, TJ genuinely wants these two to win. TJ wants Davon and Shane to win. Okay, he has been a little more animated with every challenge season, but honestly, with every All-Star season, more and more like letting loose a little, throwing some things in. We said, last week how in the first part of the final, he, was happy to be a bit of a character more than he usually is in the final by like letting Adam know, yeah, hey, you and Steve, that thing, he was wrong. You were right. You had it, you flipped it right, and then he flipped it back. That's really what cost you guys there. And then here though, like his excitement level is beyond just like, he does always get excited for everyone that does well. So not taking that from him, but it hit a pretty high pitch when Davon and Shane pull off the win. That felt a little more than just, that was super exciting, and I'm so happy that people are, this is exciting and fun and everyone's doing really well. And a little bit like, TJ, you're kind of leaning one way. I feel like you kind of want those two over there to get this win and get this W. So that was fascinating. And then we headed into the final checkpoint with a tie ball game. And at that final checkpoint, a pretty simple but ultimately really fun game, super fun. Everyone has the right idea for it as well, which is, look, just throw all the bags on there, and then we weigh enough and can move back and forth that we can get this figured out. So impressed that everyone immediately got pretty much the right format. Frank and Sam kind of feel out like heavy versus, and then they realize everyone else is already jumping on, like, let's jump on and just get this figured out. And it comes down to the end. And we are led to believe that it is a photo finish, that neither team knows who won, and that TJ blows the horn for both of them seemingly at the same time, and then doesn't tell them which one of them actually got the win. And I need to hear what they all say about this ending, because I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. I think there's no way. Not the bullshit that it was that close. I think there's a very good chance that he blew the horn and both of them jumped off, and the judges concluded, well, both did finish, but we have to pick which one went first. In that both teams would be like, tell us right effing now. were we done? Who was done for right now? What are you doing? And that there was some communication that we wouldn't have seen, because just how would you not? How would you have just calmly, like, they were all four pretty damn calm of just like, we did it. We're not sure if we won, but we did it. And we hug each other, the other team, and great job, guys. And we're kind of all celebrating, kind of not. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. So I'm very interested to hear what they all say about how what truly transpired, what the unedited footage of this would look like. And I'm just wondering if Davon and Shane were acting a little bit, as far as like, did they know they had lost? Did they truly think they had won? Because if they knew they had, well, we probably didn't win, then were they acting a little bit? And was that just because like, we're going to be, we're great sports. We came close. Oh my God, I can't, they just really beat us by like a couple seconds, or like a second or whatever. Or were they asked by production, like, can you guys like act like it was super close? Can we play this out? Let's make good TV? Like, Shane, you like making good TV, right? Like, I need to know what all went down. But I do believe one way or the other, it was extraordinarily close. And if it was, as the footage showed us, like that close, like TJ blows the horn and they both jump off thinking they won close, then this is the closest final we've ever had in the history of the challenge in any single possible way or variation, because it would literally have come down to a tie and then a split second, a less than 1 second differentiator between them as far as what we saw. So looking forward to finding the clarity about that out, and hopefully maybe reporting back to you next week in the full season recap. But Shane and Devon get second. An incredible season for the two of them. Loved it from start to finish. Even if at the start they weren't there for like 3 or 4 episodes, it made sense by the end. We only have so much time. We can only focus on so much. The editors usually know these people are going to be, well, they don't usually know. They know all the time. They know who's there at the end. They're editing the show from start to finish, knowing all the results that happened. And so there was a reason we weren't seeing them as much, because we were going to see them a lot later. And I thought they were great all the way through. I thought they were two of the best from the season. I thought they exceeded all expectations in the final for me, especially Shane. I will say, I knew Davon they both, as a team, they exceeded expectations. Davon probably exceeded my expectations as an individual competing in the final, but I think Shane exceeded them by even a little bit more. And maybe it's just the like OG nature of, Shane having been from the original era of the show, and, this is his first final ever, and not totally sure, how locked in he would be. And he's always, been chaotic. So at any point of his life, at any shape of his life, how chaotic Shane be in a final in general, and that pressure with the partner, everything else, for him to have done as well as he did, was super duper impressed by all of that, and thrilled for them to get second. It is always one of those tug of war things in my mind of like, I want the prize pot to just be bigger in general, period. But if it's only going to be 300,000, there is a big part of me that's like, I want the winners to get 250. I like that. I know that leaves very little to almost nothing, especially when you factor in taxes and everything else, almost nothing for second and third and fourth. But I want the winners to get a real sum of money, and they each end up with 125K minus taxes. It's not even a crazy amount of money. So ultimately, I always land on, put up $1 million. Like, come on. I know we're doing so many seasons a year. And so you're ultimately, they borderline put up half, 3/4, sometimes a full $1 million in a given year. But yeah, I did feel a little bad that like Shane and Davon, like, could we get them each 50K for this? Like something, I don't know. Anyways, then we got our winners, Steve and Adam win. As not the way that I expected them to win, but they were expected to win, and they still performed great. It's just their competition performed a little bit better than I anticipated relative to them. And so we got a thrilling finish, which is fantastic. I haven't been this like locked into a final in a while. That's for damn sure. As far as like really a little on the edge of my seat of like, who's going to get this done, and not really 100% knowing who I was rooting for. Like at the end, when it was Shane, Davon, Adam, and Steve, I was like, I don't think I ever picked a side. I think I was like, I'm going to be really happy for whoever gets this done. And I never even really fell on one, even like a teensy bit on like, I guess a little bit more this side than that side. So yeah, incredible final, incredible performance, start to finish. One of the best seasons we've ever seen, performance-wise. It's from Steve and Adam. All-Stars flagship, doesn't matter. 5 elimination wins, 3 daily challenge wins, a finals win. Basically won something every episode. There was 12 episodes this season, and they won something in almost all of them because they won the final, and so you count that for about 2 episodes. They won checkpoints in both of them, and they won a daily or an elim in 8 of the other 10. There's never been anything like that, for sure. There's never, ever been anything. I guess maybe a couple of the seasons we had one team seasons early on where one team won like almost all the daily challenges. So maybe, but a one for the books, one for the ages, 2 guys who I love for completely different reasons and are both great cast members. Steve is, I will say this, I will spoil, this wasn't going to be an award next week, so this isn't even a spoiler, a little preemptive award. Steve is my favorite All-Stars cast member, officially, of all 5 seasons, of everyone they've casted, whether they've been on once, twice, 3 times, 4, has he been on 4 of them? 3 times he's been on. He's my favorite All-Stars cast member and is the most, if you want to point to like why and how can All-Stars continue working, is because he was on 1 season ever before and was one of the many. They've brought back like 5 or 6 people who were one and done, not even champion before. And honestly, let's just say it like it is, not the most impact player before in his 1 season on the gauntlet or anything. There was obviously a dozen other storylines on that season before you got to Steve. But the fact that you can bring him back and now 5 seasons in, he's my favorite cast member of All-Stars, is shows you the potential of this franchise if they really hone in and get back to let's cast mostly the older folks, and it doesn't have to just be the big star names. Let's hopefully get a few of those. Come on, Coral. It's happening. If All-Star 6 happening, we're going to get Coral. We just keep wishing into existence, keep taking the breadcrumbs. That one video is giving us all life until they announce All-Star 6 and until they announce that Coral has left to film. But we don't just need big star names. You can pick random folks. All of the folks that were on from the earliest seasons went on Road Rules and went on Real World and got casted on there because of how interesting they expected those people to be. And time again, all of them proved to be just that. Very, very interesting people on our television screen. So yeah, I love Steve's arc in the challenge. I love what it says about the possibilities and the potential of the All-Stars franchise to continue. And I just think this guy is so fascinating. And looking forward to hopefully more Steve content of any kind in my life, whether it's competitive eating videos, hand modeling pictures, comedy sets like the one I saw him do at Challenge Mania Laugh once upon a time. Anything and everything from Steve, I will take. And Adam, also absolutely fantastic cast member. The big comeback, he was one of the very interesting cast members early on that kind of felt like they let go a little too early, like on season 5 and then on season 7 he gets the win as part of the winning Road Rules team, and I think we saw him one more time after that. I'm forgetting now. There's too many people to keep track of, but felt like he was one. There was a version of events where we would have seen him on like 5 or 6 more seasons after the gauntlet. And that didn't happen. And so bringing him back here, he's been a fantastic cast member. He's meshed with all different people within both casts on 4 and 5 in a way I didn't totally expect. And, butted heads with plenty of them, become friends with plenty of them, and obviously found a wife in one of them as we get the big ending of the episode with him via confessional, asking Avery to marry him, which I assume either was happening at the moment when we were all watching that. He was on a knee somewhere when I forget where they live. They live in like Nashville or North Carolina or somewhere, wherever they were, that he was on a knee proposing, or maybe had done a proposal already between then. Now I haven't really been on social media a lot, so sorry if there was like, he proposed a week ago and there was pictures and announcement and video and whatever. So sorry about that if that is the case. But regardless, he is the biggest winner here. He's probably the biggest winner in All-Stars history now. Even with the prize money, having to split it or whatever, he he is a challenge champion and is marrying an all-time challenge crush. Like Avery is way up there as far as the most, if you took how many fans had a crush on this cast member and, the most crushes wins, Avery's in the top 5 to 10 for sure. She's way up there. So he's the big winner here. He's taken home money. He's brought back a friendship. He's made a bunch more friends across 4 and 5, and now he is getting to marry Avery. So, I would say Adam is one of the biggest winners we've ever seen in challenge history with this season, in the results of this season. And I would say that it was probably well worth it to have Steve steal his star back on All Stars 4. And just Steve and Adam absolutely crushed it start to finish the season. Provided entertainment, provided obviously dominance in the game at time and squeaking out wins at other time, but winning nonetheless. And they are our All-Stars 5, aka All-Stars Rivals champions. And with that, the season comes to a close, but not until we do our awards, even though we've already spoiled multiple of them potentially here. The votes aren't final. Those are just what we're kind of expect. We kind of know where some of the votes are going to go, but they're not finalized yet. So tune in, come back next week one more time to discuss All-Stars Rivals, All-Stars 5, with our full season recap and awards. We'll talk the state of the All-Stars franchise and the challenge at large. We always give a little state of the challenge with any full season recap and awards. We'll discuss, the rumblings online about, are we going to get All-Star 6 or not? We will maybe, I believe Challenge 41 just finished within the last week or so. We'll maybe we won't have like an update or a trailer by any means, but maybe a little better timeline of like when we think we're going to get to see that. And we'll hand out all the awards up to and including MVP. And we'll grade the season and we'll rank all 5 All-Star seasons. We're going to do a whole bunch of things. It's going to be a great time. So make sure, again, follow, subscribe. Thank you to those that have done that. Thank you to each and every one of you for listening, watching, tuning in every week. I love you. I appreciate you. I will be back next week to hand Frank Fox his award for MVP. Until then, peace.